15. CIA's darkest secrets. What if I told you the CIA has been hiding things from you? Dark things, shocking things. Things that will send chills down your spine. Buckle up because we're about to unveil some of the CIA's darkest, most mind-blowing secrets that were never meant to see the light of day. From secret mind control experiments to manipulating foreign governments, the truth is stranger than fiction. Stick around till the end, because what you'll discover will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew. Hi friends! Welcome to our channel, your go-to source for uncovering the hidden truths the world tries to keep buried. If you love discovering shocking, untold stories, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on what's coming next. Now let's dive into 15 of the CIA's darkest secrets that the world was never supposed to know about. The Central Intelligence Agency, or CIA, was created in 1947 to gather intelligence and protect national security. But as the years have gone by, countless allegations, declassified documents, and whistleblowers have revealed a side of the agency that operates in the shadows. While some might argue that these methods were necessary during Cold War tensions, others believe these actions cross ethical boundaries. Today, we're going beyond the headlines to reveal the most shocking truths about what the CIA has done in the name of national security. Without further ado, let's dive in. 1. Project MKUltra. Mind control experiments. Imagine waking up one day to find out that the government has been experimenting on you without your knowledge. That's exactly what happened under the CIA's Project MKUltra, a series of secret experiments conducted in the 1950s and 60s aimed at mastering mind control. The agency used unsuspecting citizens, including prisoners and even their own employees, dosing them with drugs like LSD. People were subjected to psychological torture, extreme sensory deprivation, and electroshock treatments. The goal? To create a Manchurian candidate, someone who could be mind-controlled into carrying out covert missions. The trauma inflicted on the victims was so severe that many suffered lifelong psychological damage, and some even died. The program was eventually exposed, but the full extent of its horrors has never been fully revealed. 2. Operation Mockingbird. Manipulating the media. What if the media you trust to provide objective news is actually a mouthpiece for government propaganda? That's exactly what happened during Operation Mockingbird. In the 1950s, the CIA secretly recruited journalists from major news outlets to spread misinformation and shape public opinion both in the U.S. and abroad. Reporters and editors at prestigious newspapers like the New York Times and the Washington Post were on the CIA's payroll, feeding biased stories to the public. The agency used these media operatives to discredit political movements, cover up scandals, and even sway elections. This covert manipulation has left many wondering how much of what we see in the news is actually controlled by shadowy government forces. 3. The Phoenix Program. Assassinations in Vietnam. During the Vietnam War, the CIA wasn't just collecting intelligence, it was executing people. The Phoenix Program, launched in 1965, aimed to dismantle the Viet Cong by targeting their leadership and sympathizers. But the methods were ruthless. CIA operatives were involved in the assassination, torture, and abduction of tens of thousands of suspected enemies. Many of the victims were civilians, and some were executed based on faulty intelligence or mere suspicion. The program was criticized for its brutality and lack of oversight, with estimates suggesting that over 20,000 people were killed. Phoenix was officially terminated, but the damage it caused to both Vietnam and the U.S.'s moral standing is irreversible. 4. Operation Chaos. Spying on Americans. Think the CIA only spies on foreign adversaries? Think again. In the 1960s, the CIA launched Operation Chaos, a domestic surveillance program aimed at tracking American citizens who were involved in anti-war and civil rights movements. The agency infiltrated protest groups, wiretapped phones, and collected dossiers on thousands of activists, including civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. The program was a blatant violation of the CIA's charter, which prohibits domestic spying, and was only revealed in the 1970s after a series of explosive investigations. The scandal raised alarming questions about how far the government is willing to go to suppress dissent and control its citizens. 5. Operation Northwoods. False flag attacks. Here's a secret that sounds like it came straight from a conspiracy theory, but it's terrifyingly true. In 1962, the CIA proposed Operation Northwoods, a plan to stage fake terrorist attacks on American soil and blame them on Cuba. The idea was to drum up public support for a war against Fidel Castro. The proposed attacks included bombing U.S. cities, sinking American ships, and even hijacking planes. The plan went as far as proposing fake funerals for victims of these attacks. Though it was never carried out, the fact that the CIA was even considering such a horrifying strategy is deeply alarming. It raises serious concerns about how far the agency is willing to go to achieve its geopolitical goals. 6. The Iran coup of 1953, toppling a democracy. In 1953, the CIA orchestrated a coup d'etat that changed the course of Iranian history, and not for the better. Iran's democratically elected Prime Minister, Mohammad Mossadegh, had the audacity to nationalize the country's oil industry, which didn't sit well with Western powers, who were used to controlling Iran's oil wealth. In response, the CIA engineered a coup to overthrow Mossadegh and reinstalled the Shah, a dictator who ruled with an iron fist. The coup led to decades of oppression and unrest, culminating in the Iranian Revolution of 1979. This interference not only destabilized Iran, but also sowed the seeds of anti-American sentiment that still persist in the region today. 7. The Bay of Pigs invasion, a failed operation. In 1961, the CIA masterminded one of the most embarrassing failures in American military history, the Bay of Pigs invasion. The agency trained and armed Cuban exiles to invade Cuba and overthrow Fidel Castro, but things went catastrophically wrong. The invaders were outnumbered and outgunned, and within 3 days, Castro's forces had captured or killed most of them. The failure of the invasion not only humiliated the U.S. on the world stage, but also strengthened Castro's grip on power. It's a stark reminder of how even the most powerful intelligence agency in the world can make disastrous miscalculations that have lasting geopolitical consequences. 8. Torture programs. Enhanced interrogation techniques. After the September 11th attacks, the CIA implemented a secret program of enhanced interrogation techniques on suspected terrorists. These techniques, which included waterboarding, sleep deprivation, and even mock executions, were later classified as torture by human rights organizations. The CIA operated secret prisons, or black sites, around the world, where detainees were held without trial and subjected to these brutal methods. While the agency argued that these techniques were necessary to prevent future attacks, they led to international condemnation and a dark stain on America's reputation. Many detainees were later released without charges, raising questions about the morality and legality of the entire program. By now, you're probably just as shocked as we are by what you've learned so far. And trust me, it only gets crazier from here. But before we dive into the next unbelievable secret, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss out on more eye-opening revelations like these. Now let's get back to exposing the truth. 9. Operation Paperclip. Nazi scientists recruited. After World War II, the U.S. government launched Operation Paperclip, a secret program to recruit former Nazi scientists and bring them to America. These scientists, many of whom had been involved in horrific war crimes during the Holocaust, were offered immunity in exchange for their expertise in fields like rocket technology. While this helped the U.S. gain an edge in the space race and military advancements, it also meant that the country was harboring war criminals, some of whom had experimented on concentration camp prisoners. The moral implications of this operation are staggering, leaving a dark chapter in U.S. history that questions the limits of ethical compromise in the name of progress. 10. The secret drone program. Covert killings. The CIA's secret drone program has carried out hundreds of targeted killings across countries like Pakistan, Yemen, and Somalia, often without public knowledge or oversight. While drones are touted as precision tools in the fight against terrorism, the reality is far murkier. Many of these strikes have resulted in the deaths of innocent civilians, including children. The secrecy surrounding the program means that there's little accountability for these actions. Critics argue that the drone program represents a new, dangerous form of warfare, one where the U.S. can kill people on foreign soil without ever setting foot there, and without the scrutiny of the public or even Congress. 11. Operation Gold, tapping Soviet communications. In the 1950s, the CIA built one of its most audacious espionage operations, Operation Gold. The agency, working with British intelligence, dug a tunnel beneath East Berlin to tap into Soviet communications. The tunnel allowed them to intercept thousands of conversations between Soviet military officers, providing valuable intelligence during the Cold War. However, the operation was eventually exposed, not because the Soviets discovered the tunnel, but because a Soviet mole within British intelligence had tipped them off from the beginning. The Soviets allowed the operation to continue to feed the CIA disinformation, making Operation Gold one of the most ironic and costly failures in CIA history. 12. The Congo Crisis. Assassination of Patrice Lumumba in 1961. The CIA played a pivotal role in the assassination of Patrice Lumumba, the first democratically elected leader of the Congo. Lumumba's vision for an independent, unified Congo conflicted with U.S. interests in the region, particularly its access to valuable resources like uranium. The CIA feared that Lumumba would align the Congo with the Soviet Union during the Cold War, so they backed a coup to remove him from power. Lumumba was eventually captured, tortured, and executed by his political enemies, with CIA complicity. The U.S. role in his assassination helped plunge the Congo into decades of chaos and dictatorship, a legacy of suffering that continues to this day. 13. Operation Cyclone. Arming the Mujahideen. During the Soviet-Afghan War, the CIA launched Operation Cyclone, one of the longest and most expensive covert operations in its history. The agency funneled billions of dollars in weapons and training to Afghan Mujahideen fighters to drive out the Soviet army. While this operation helped weaken the Soviet Union, it had unintended consequences. Many of the fighters trained and armed by the CIA would later become key figures in groups like the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. The same weapons and tactics used to fight the Soviets were later turned against the U.S. and its allies in the post-9/11 world, making Operation Cyclone a textbook example of blowback. 14. The Chile coup of 1973. Ousting Salvador Allende. In 1973, the CIA backed a coup that overthrew Chile's democratically elected president, Salvador Allende, and installed the brutal military dictatorship of General Augusto Pinochet. Allende, a socialist, was seen as a threat to U.S. interests in Latin America. The CIA provided financial and logistical support to anti-Allende forces, helping to destabilize his government. When the coup finally occurred, Allende was killed, and Pinochet's regime went on to commit widespread human rights abuses, including torture and the execution of political opponents. The U.S. role in the coup has been widely condemned, and it remains a chilling reminder of the lengths the CIA will go to protect its interests. 15. Black sites, secret prisons. Around the world, one of the CIA's most alarming programs involves the use of black sites, secret prisons located around the world where detainees are held without trial and subjected to enhanced interrogation techniques. These sites, often in countries with lax human rights laws, are designed to operate outside the scrutiny of U.S. courts and international law. Detainees are often kept in solitary confinement, deprived of sleep, and subjected to extreme physical and psychological abuse. The existence of black sites was only revealed in the mid-2000s, sparking outrage and raising serious ethical questions about the CIA's conduct in the War on Terror. The CIA's history is littered with shocking secrets, covert operations, and moral dilemmas that leave us questioning the price of national security. From mind control experiments to manipulating governments, these actions show just how far the agency is willing to go. If you found this video as eye-opening as we did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more explosive revelations. And remember, what's hidden in the shadows will eventually come to light. Stay curious, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next video.